Turkey is facing a historic threat. The entire nation must be aware of this menace. All political parties, civil society organizations, and other bodies must act as one.
Öcalan founded the Marxist group in 1978 while a student at the University of Ankara. The PKK's violent campaign started some years later with the first attacks in southeast Turkey. Over its 37-year history, more than 40,000 people were killed. The group was severely weakened in 1999 when their leader was arrested by Turkish special forces and sentenced to life in prison. The PKK is considered a terrorist organization by the European Union and the United States.
Secretary Carter, have you ever heard of the PYD?
I have, yes.
Who are they?
They're a Kurdish group, one of several, a number of.
Have you heard of the YPG?
I've heard of them also.
Who are they?
Another Kurdish group.
Aren't they the military wing of the PYD?
They are, yes.
Is that right, General Dunford?
That is correct.
The leftist Syrian Kurdish political party founded in 2003. Reports indicate that they're aligned or at least have substantial ties to the PKK. Is that true?
Yes, we haven't.
Is the PKK a terrorist organization in the eyes of the Turkish government?
The PKK is a terrorist organization not only in the eyes of the Turkish government, but in the eyes of the U.S. government as well, Senator.
Is it surprising to you that the Turks may be upset with us by arming the YPG in Syria, since they're so closely aligned with the PKK?
No, it's not. No, it's not at all, Senator. We have. Let me just clarify. Let me just say that, and the chairman's been involved in this as well. We have extensive consultations with the Turks.
So Turkey's okay with this?
They're not okay with that.
I just got back from Turkey. They're not okay with this. They think this is the dumbest idea in the world, and I agree with them. So if you're wondering why Turkey's a little upset, we're arming people inside of Syria aligned with a terrorist group that's fighting the Turkish government. Turkey could do more, but I think this whole concept is, quite frankly, absurd.
The global secret state plan to split up Turkey. A plan to establish an independent communist state of Kurdistan in the Middle East dating back 100 years. This is a century-old plan of the deep states of the U.S. and Europe. How is this plan intended to proceed? First of all, autonomy will be established in the southeast. The USA and Europe will remove the PKK from the list of terror organizations and prepare the foundation for the establishment of a state on one hand. An intense propaganda initiative will be created to that end.
And most misunderstood is the evolution with our counterpart in Syria, the so-called Syrian Democratic Forces. Now, interestingly, they came about that name because at one point in time, and I dealt with them directly, I was in on the formative stage of the relationship with these guys. They formally called themselves the YPG, who the Turks would say equated to the PKK. You're dealing with a terrorist enemy of mine. How can you do that, ally? So we literally played back to them, hey, you got to change your brand. What do you want to call yourself besides the YPG? And with about a day's notice, they declared that they were the Syrian Democratic Forces. I thought it was a stroke of brilliance to put democracy in there somewhere. But it gave them a little bit of credibility. And the interesting part, and I was lucky to have a great partner in Brett McGurk out there with me about the same time, because they were asking for things that I couldn't give them. And it literally was an acknowledgement that they were the demographic dominant force in northern Syria. They wanted a seat at the table, whether it's at Geneva or Astana or wherever talks are happening about the future of Syria. And because they had been branded as PKK, they could never get to the table. So while we paired with them militarily, Brett McGurk was able to keep them in the conversation and allow them the necessary legitimacy to be good partners for us. So it was literally something, I need you militarily. The diplomat here, will deliver an entree, if nothing else, for you to be legitimate, from a state standpoint.
Right. What CNN is doing is they're essentially creating what some people have termed infomercials for dictators. And that's this sponsored content that they're airing on CNN International that's actually being paid for by regimes and governments. I mean, this violates every principle of journalistic ethics, because we're supposed to be watchdogs on these governments. We're not supposed to allow them to be paying customers as journalists.